Hey guys, and welcome back to the INSITE channel. Today we have b0RUP in the Crosshair. The Danish support has grinded his way through a magnitude of regional rosters and has now hit gold with the newly formed Astralis roster. But before we go any further, how are you doing today? I know you've just come off, kind of just come off the Cologne run, but I can imagine you're still feeling a pretty good high from that.
Oh, definitely. It's one hell of an experience, right? And hopefully, it's something that will happen again. Because I've been feeling it in my entire body, right? Like the feeling of just like that massive win. Like I want to experience it again, playing on that big stage, right? So yeah.
Mm. Awesome. And so before we kind of get into like the meat and the potatoes of the interview, I just want to talk about a little bit about Cologne first, just at the very beginning, and how you guys did so well as such a new team. And kind of looking first at like the full groups, I feel like that was a pretty good like warm up to Cologne. You guys, I think it's fair to say, didn't look 100%, but you still made full finals. How did you prepare as a team in such short time to be competing at such a high level? And did that like good result at Blast boost you into Cologne?
So I think we had some really good practice actually going into Blast final. We obviously knew we had a lot of tournament coming on when we made the roster, and we just grinded our way for like 10, 12 days before Blast final. And it seemed like we were going quite well, right? And then we get into the officials, and that's when you like things change, right? You need to make a game plan. You need to yeah, stuff like that, right? So you need to figure out how you want to work towards it. And obviously that was the first time for us. So I think it's fair to say that after every loss, we learned so much all the time. Like we came different prepared for the other game, and then we learned something new if that didn't work either. And just after that, I think it was firstly we lost to Navi and then to Big Red, and then after that big game, we just like we had loads of like talks how we want to approach the game, anti-strat wise, what's good for this person, what's good for me, and we just yeah no we just found a very good way to like approach the games with the limited practice, and it just paid off so much. It even showed as well at Cologne, I think, like after our loss to D2, uh, we just we learned so much from those hard losses, and we just come back so much stronger as well.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. You mentioned just playing like officials and kind of transitioning what you learn in practice to officials. Obviously, in like Copenhagen Flames, you guys would have grinded out all those officials. Are you actually going to do a little bit the same in Astralis? Just play some of these online tournaments with the not like kind of okay, we have to win this, but just to okay, let's get time in the saddle, let's play officials, let's play the maps, and let's play against different teams.
Oh, definitely. We definitely see it as good experience playing these tier two tournaments as well as Pinnacle coming up. Right, it's definitely such good experience because like we learn how to prep these games against opponents where we don't necessarily know the exact veto. And yeah, as you said, it's different opponents, and obviously, if we start getting a higher seed, we'll meet opponents that like either they come like with a new lineup or no data, and I don't know, we think we'll learn a lot on it, and having a longer period of time with no officials can like kind of get you out of the rhythm of playing officials. So I think that's good as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that like weirdly enough, the schedule's actually quite like drawn out now. Like you don't have that next land right away. But just before we kind of get into some of those topics, so final bits about Cologne. What were your expectations going into this? Because I refuse to believe that like you guys kind of expected to get to that stage. And how did it feel actually to sit there and go, oh my god, like we have just made top four, like that's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's we never set like we never have set expectations for like we want to make playoffs, we want to get into like past play in.
Mm.
We don't do that. We just show up to every game, give it everything, and if we go out of that game, let's say we lost to Apex, but we actually thought that, oh well, we actually played super well and so did they, right? We'll actually be like quite satisfied with it because like we showed up and we did our very best, and that's like just the mentality that we go into the game with, right? We just want to leave the game having the feeling that okay, we actually fought for the victory, and we were not afraid to play. We're not afraid to take risks. I'm somewhat overpeaked. That's okay. You took a risk. You acted on like your yeah. What do you say? Like you just we're not afraid to play, and if we go out with that mentality, we're good. So
That's actually like a really good mental to have, and I think a lot of teams honestly do lack that. And so, just before we get finally started, um, as an individual, this was your first, like, kind of excluding the like Blast Studio event. This is basically your first big LAN since pre-COVID times, and then with that, you were able to also make the stage, and then you didn't also bow out. Like you made top four. It was a respectable of performance. Like, how did that feel just on an individual level to kind of almost be back there and be like, wow, it's been what, 3 years and I'm here again?
Hmm. No, it's I can't even like explain the feeling I had when I got contacted the first time, right? I was like, oh, like I knew I had it in me, right? And I knew that like my name was in the topics of like certain teams. Like I say certain teams, at least like I know some individual do like me, right? And that what I bring to the team. So I knew it wasn't like it was never not gonna happen again. I thought, right? But obviously it's something else being back there, and I definitely like you can feel the nerves as well, right? Because I don't even think with heroic would have we played on any like big stages. Like the biggest stage we played with like DreamHack Open Atlanta
Yes, it's
something, you
like,
know, like it's nothing like Cologne. But yeah, it's incredible.
yeah, like it's actually uncomparable completely. Like yeah, like Cologne is ridiculous. If anyone hasn't been, I'd honestly make sure you do. Um, but then, so kind of looking now at like your come up. So you made a big mark in the Danish scene with the likes of Tricked, especially dominating a big part of like the lower Danish scene when you look at those kind of like Dust 2 lands. And you had quite an extensive time though grinding up, which is in my head kind of missed by a lot of players nowadays. How do you think that actually benefited you, that you were able to garner all that experience before you stepped into the likes of heroic?
I think that's a tough one because obviously so I when did it start off? We started off in like Tricked. I remember like that's my first real professional team, right? With like Hunden, Asilian, Yugi, stuff like that. No, Yugi wasn't there, but like it was Hunden who picked me up, and I was just like I was there to like just play certain roles, and I didn't communicate. I wasn't the most talkative guy, right? I was just there to like well kill people basically, right? And that I
Yeah.
did as well. And I had a really good relationship with Hunden, so he obviously took me along with like other projects as well after that. And yeah, I've just gained so much experience from like all those lower tier teams. Like after Trek, I was in North Academy as well with like a lot of young people, which got me to like communicate more as well because like I needed to bring some experience to those younger people. So I think like the way that I've grinded my way through like different roles, having different personalities on teams as well. Because like obviously if you're on a team with loads of talkative guys, right? You don't need to talk a lot either. But like when I played on MadLions as well, right?
Yeah.
And there they don't talk as much like because it's an international team and I came there with a lot of experience as well. So obviously I'm in another like my personality changed. I'd say like I need to take more initiative. I need to take more control and just by trying all those things out, I obviously gain a lot of experience on like how I am as a person, where am I best at, what can I contribute to a team, right? And I think I hit the spot on, not by joining heroic. I think I was all right there. Not towards the end, I was a bit meh, but like when I joined Copenhagen Flames, that's when I think like, okay, I actually found my role there, right? Like what I'm good at. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that's like I think so.
That's really interesting, actually, because you guys did do really well in heroic. So, kind of then comparing then what you would have had from heroic, Mad Lions, and then Copenhagen Flames. What were that change of role? So you were saying like you found your role in uh, Copenhagen Flames. Like, what was that change then from heroic to there?
Well, so I came to heroic. I got the offer when I wasn't tricked. When I was playing all the star roles. I wasn't necessarily the one communicating a lot. I was kind of like just well, I was just putting up numbers, right? That was my role, and I was playing alongside Aiko on all the maps, and we just like I don't necessarily remember how it went down, but I wasn't talking that much. I was more focused on my own game, right? And then I got picked up
Okay.
by heroic. And honestly, I don't exactly remember. I don't think I got. I had some roles that I was used to, but then I got like I had a few other roles that I wasn't used to, and I wasn't doing terribly bad in the beginning with like Snappy, Blame,
cadiaN.
Down, and cadiaN replaced Blame. I think Easy Tech
Yeah.
maybe Easy Tech, but yeah, I was doing all right there. I think, and I think Blame had a good eye to me after that period as well. I think like he, yeah, just he just liked how I played and how I was as a teammate, I guess, and it's just stuck with him ever since. I think that's why I got the offer for PS4. But yeah, I had some different roles there, and it didn't really fit my playstyle the way it worked. Yeah, and then after that,
Okay.
I was like, I had I had the role. I actually liked the roles I had in the heroic. It just didn't work for me. I don't know why. Maybe the way they played. Maybe I was just not ready for that level of play yet. Could have been that too. But then I joined MadLions actually for a certain reason. I had a few other offers as well, but I joined them with the idea of like, okay, I want to progress as an individually. I want to learn more about myself, right? And I knew there that I could get a lot of respect, I'd say, right? Like they would have a lot of trust in me because I came with experience.
Mm.
So I could like with the likes of JL and Sausal and Vogel, right? I could really try and lead like other groups of the team, right? I was playing alongside JL on all the bomb sites, and I think we're doing a very like good job on just like talking to each other and like creating a good atmosphere for the team. Because I had yeah, so
Okay.
there I think I learned a lot about myself, and then I came to Flames with like the same qualities, I'd say.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you kind of like you were in a constant progression throughout your whole career. And so just kind of looking at that communication bit a little bit, you're saying you came in from Tricked as like the star player, you were very quiet. Was and you said in an interview with Blix that you're saying like cadiaN plays quite a freestyle of Counter-Strike. Did that force you to talk a little bit more? And was that kind of like your start of communicating better?
I definitely learned a lot from them because like as chaotic their playstyle might be, like everything comes down to like they know everything that's going on map. If something looks random, I bet cadiaN knows exactly what's going on. Like he's
Okay.
hella smart, right? So obviously, a bit more loose style, it means that you need to take a lot more initiative on your side. Like you need to take a lot more chances, and if you start like doubting yourself and like you second guess your like the things you do, it just won't work because like you'll miss all the timings, your plays won't work, your yeah. So I think individually I wasn't there, which made me like doubt myself a lot and second guess, and that just like you can't do that when you play such a fast pace and loose game.
Yeah, it's a complete snowball effect. And sorry, just to pull it back a second, you're saying you changed roles. Could you actually break down those roles? So like, oh, so you're saying you were like putting up numbers on Tricked, and then you go to heroic to MadLions, and then into this now support role. Where did that kind of shift into this modern support role? Like, at what stage did that happen?
I think it happened from like the it slowly started happening from Trick to Heroic, right? But I think the final step was like from MadLions to Flames, where I wouldn't say I was like I might be a bit support ish on Astralis, but on Flames I was more like full CT. On CT side I was just angering sides down. Like I was playing all
Yeah.
like I was playing A nuke, A ancient, oh I played B ancient actually. All the angering positions, right? And then to this team Astralis, I'm playing a lot of anger position on CT side as well. But the support role and like where people might see me supporting is like early round on T side more like. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I think it's like from MadLions to Flames that like I found my role there, right?
Hmm. Yeah, like I definitely want to talk more about Flames. I think that is a really interesting, like that. It's really interesting. But just kind of finalizing a little bit with Heroic. You had a very unique period of time with Heroic because obviously, like as I was saying, this is the first, Cologne was the first time before since COVID because you joined Heroic as the like just before the world kind of got plunged into lockdown. But then you still were finding that success. You still reached number one. You were still winning like all these online tournaments. I think you actually won Cologne as well in one of the online
Yeah,
periods.
we do.
Yeah, so like finally got back to that kind of like that at least in person. But so how did you do that? Because a lot of teams struggled, a lot of teams succeeded. It's like a very just unique point in life where you had to completely change everything. And how did that like do you want to kind of just like break down some of your thoughts about that time playing just not even in a like with heroic, but just playing in general?
um, Honestly, I think it's hard. I don't think we would have struggled on land either. I don't think either. Like, I don't think any of the heroic players actually do struggle on land now, right? It might have taken like it been different, but I think we're just like a lot better than the teams around us, right?
Yeah.
Like teams just weren't grinding as much, I guess. Honestly, I think it's very like far back in my mind, but as far as I remember, we're just really sharp individually, and I think we put a lot more work into like yeah, everything, because we saw it like as a, I don't know, a chance as well, right?
Okay, yeah. So like that's actually very interesting from the team's not grinding perspective because now like everyone's literally grind, grind, grind. So do you think that's just a change in culture in CS:GO, or do you think that was more of like a lockdown, just people didn't want to play?
A bit of both, I think. I think obviously, I think all the teams who like attended all the lands in the beginning, they were like, we're not gonna travel as much. We're just gonna play him from online, and now we're gonna play this b0RUP guy who's just sitting with a Pepsi in his hand in his mother's apartment. Like, obviously, it's a bit of like it's a bit of a mood change
Fuck's
when I'm playing
sake.
like against Navi or something, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously, yeah, it's just different, and I think a lot of people had changed their mindset about how like they work.
Okay. And yeah, so after that, you were saying you went to MadLions. I want to build upon that point more because it's interesting you already mentioned that, but it was something that I definitely was looking at the team and I was like, okay, you seem like you're the experienced player here. Like JL is just literally his first team. Waro, kind of the same. Sasso would been I think it would have been a little bit more in like the Iberian scene. But yeah, do you want to explain more about that whole like playing with inexperienced people and taking that more leadership role and how much that has how much that's actually given you now going into the future?
I think it's given me a lot, obviously, because like in the beginning, I come in and I just like overdo it and like a lot, right? Because like I don't know what the right amount is, right? I need to play my own game as well, and they need to play their own game as well. I can't control everything, right?
Mm,
And it's not like I was. I think it's hard. Like I think personally, I learned so much from it because like you need to figure out when to do it, like when's the right call to like make things, what's good against what, and like what can I offer in my certain positions, right? Um, and out of the game as well, making game plans as well. Uh, I don't think I was necessarily that much a part of it, but I learned a lot from how Kuben does it as well.
okay. And so that roster came to an end, and I just want to talk about, and this is comparable a little bit to the Flames roster with how important making the RMRs and majors are. So both on Flames and MadLions, you were unable to make like the respective RMRs and then progressive majors. How much as like a tier 2 team, tier 3 team rides on your shoulders that you could have a great season, but as soon as you don't make that RMR, everything crashes down. Like is that something that is actually as important that it looks like from the outside perspective?
I think it's very important for the team. Like, the obviously the company behind like Flames, it would like be very important to make it right because they obviously they get a lot of money from it, right? And so about MadLions, but I don't think it was about money with MadLions. I just think they changed their focus point away from CS:GO in general. But in Flames, like, yeah, it's hella important. Like, it does change the team when you don't make it because like we showed up to the RMR and we're like, this is pretty good. This is really doable. Like we can definitely make it. We come off right of a good period, good practice, and we actually feel quite well individually. And something just clicks. Like you just, I think we got a lot. Like we got really nervous in Flames when we started playing them, and we had a lot of bad starts, so we couldn't never like ride off momentum. So we like, I don't know, we didn't play our game. We were very nervous when it came to the RMR. I think, yeah, which is a shame.
Okay, so like, because you guys would have played loads of grand finals up to that stage, but like, is it just that little bit different going from a grand finals and online tournament to being like, this is potentially like the pinnacle of what we're going to do in this team?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think the RMR, like, there's so much more pressure in the opening game in the Swiss format in the RMR than the final of a CCT. Because, like, let's say we play against, I don't know, 500. They were pretty decent, maybe. We might even have played them in some final, probably ranked like 20
Probably,
at that
yeah.
point. And, like, yeah, if we beat them, fine, we get a bit more money, but, like, they are the better team. And what will happen? We'll just have a CCT next week again, right? But in the RMR, ooh, you lose one game and you, like, get up, like get some good opponent who lost in another game as well, and suddenly you're just down 2-0-2. And this is the thing that we've been grinding. Like we even put our focus on it when we made the team. Like this is where we want to have a shot at like making it to the big stages, right? That's the RMR. So when it came to that, it's just like the Swiss format is just so much more. Not the Swiss format, but the RMR is just yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Because I remember actually speaking to Regali about it. Because I was like one of my first big events was doing the CCT Malta, like the finals. That was in yeah, and like you guys had an invite to that, and last second kind of were like, oh no, we want to focus on the RMRs, and then we were sitting. I remember in the studio being like, shit, they've just gotten 0-3.
Yeah.
Oh, probably should have accepted the offer.
uh,
But no, that was just like a little sign that I remember, like to kind of add on the point of like it was like a focus for you guys, like that was sign that like I can, and understandably so. But yeah, so just generally talking about this Copenhagen Flames era, this was a point where I literally think I was casting you like and the team like once a week at a minimum. Like it was just everywhere. Oh, Copenhagen Flames tomorrow. Oh, Copenhagen Flames tomorrow. Yep. Like I think I knew you guys better than any other team. Um, and just focusing a little bit on the IGL style, I feel like it's such a big change going from someone like cadiaN to then Bird, who is very rigid, who almost plans the round about himself. How not about himself, but like almost like he calls it and like tells you what to do. Like it's very much like you do this, you do that. How was that? And like, how was that going from maybe like a cadiaN to Bird? And how, as a player, like, how was that? How did you cope with? Like, yeah, how did you play with that?
um, well, obviously it's a bit more. It's very different, right? You can definitely focus a lot more on like your own game, or not your own game, but like individually, right? Like Bird is very micromanaging type, right?
Yeah.
And we did get him to lose up because obviously we have Rals, who used to be an IGL on Sprout, and TMB, who used to IGL for me as well. So I think we needed to change his mindset about like we actually know how to communicate as well, right? Like we come from the same level of play, and we have 3 IGLs as well. So we definitely met him like midway, I'd say. He still had a lot of control mid game, and I personally like I don't mind it. Like then I can just focus on my own game a lot more. But yeah, it's very different. There isn't. I know it's hard to explain. To be fair, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and
I'm just thinking here because like
yeah, I'll give you a second because I think it's a very interesting point where I've heard a lot of different views about that type of IGLing, and some people love it, some people hate it, but it worked. That is the thing, like it did work.
yeah. Well, like firstly, BirdFromSky, like he is like insanely clever. Like he is a great mind of CS. Like he really knows what he's doing, and not only CS, just like in general, he's a very clever guy. He's always one step ahead, right? So usually, like he just like it just comes naturally to him when he like comms and IGLs, right? Like it's not like he doesn't think people can do it himself. It's just like he just saw it first, right? Like and then he comms it and sets up the round. Um, yeah, I personally I enjoy playing alongside him. They can get too much as well sometimes, but as I said, like we did get him to open up, so I think we met very like we met in the middle, all of us.
And so this was a team that like was I just like that you guys were incredible. Like I think it took the tier two scene kind of by like shock. You guys just were winning. Like I know it's not maybe the biggest of like, oh my god, we won the CCT tournament, but like you were just doing it over and over and over and over and over again. How were you able to finance that success? And you have already mentioned actually about MadLions, about how like you loved like it was good atmosphere, and I know that this Copenhagen Flames team, like you guys were all friends beforehand, and like it was like almost like a friend team. How were you having that success, and was the good vibes a big part of that?
Oh, definitely. The good vibes definitely carried us through a lot of games, right? Like all of us is insanely good friends out of the game, and still to this day are. I'm pretty sure like Bird went on vacation with like Farlig and CMB and other people like in the summer vacation after Flames. So like people still talk outside the game, and we just yeah like it definitely carries us through it and in the rough times and in the beginning as well because we are good friends before we came into the team as well, right? And we didn't have that honeymoon period like a lot of teams has because like we just worked so hard and we grinded and worked on mistakes from like day one. There's no like let's hold back things so people feel good or anything. It's just like hard on instantly, right? So I think that was very good for us as well, because like when we then came to winning as well, it wasn't just like a honeymoon run. We actually came with our like peak individual form, right?
Mm.
So yeah, I think the like the atmosphere we had in our team definitely helped us in the beginning. The way we worked with things, yeah.
Awesome. And then, so unfortunately, all good thing must come to an end. And I think 2023 was a really rough year for Copenhagen Flames, as obviously the organization like shut down. But kind of before that, it felt like you guys as a team did kind of hit a rough patch, and it never kind of got back to its same stage. Why is that, do you think? Like, why is it that the team kind of just came into 2023 and didn't have that same flair about it?
Honestly, I'm not sure. To be fair, like I felt so on point as well in a lot of games. Obviously,
Okay.
numbers weren't the same, and that might come down to individual decision making and stuff. But and we changed the Farlik for Regali, which like yeah, Regali might have like been killing a lot more people, and not even a lot more people. They actually had around the same statistics, but like he had the higher rating, but Farlik still came in, and like I think he was on the second best rating he's ever been on in the team. I think he had a good period with Flames beforehand, but like this was like one of the teams that he did the best on as well. Obviously against lower opponents, but like he was really putting in numbers as well, while at the same time communicating a bit more than Regali, right? So yeah, I don't know why it didn't work, because like we all put in the numbers, and I think even Bird played extremely well individually, and we still worked just as hard even after Flames went bankrupt as well. We still put in like I think everyone played like I think we had the team with the most hours past 2 weeks than like most other top 30 teams. Just like individually, we always played Faceit, played tons of DM, 2 hours of review after like practice, right? Honestly, I'm not sure. I still look back at it to this day and like I have no idea what happened.
Okay, that is actually like must be really annoying as well. Just to be like, I can't figure out why. Like normally you can kind of point to and be like, yeah, he played shit, he played shit. But then you're there like we all like, yeah, and that's okay. That's like, is there anything that you guys were trying and you were looking at it and you're going, yeah, our results are bad. How can we fix this? Was that sign? Did you ever come to the stage where you were actively trying to change stuff? And I'm guessing the move to Farley was also could have been one of those changes.
Yeah, I think that was one of the changes. I think even with Regali, we started losing a bit in the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well,
Then
like
we
it
made
was
the
literally
chance.
just yeah, like it was as soon as the year changed, everything just went from like down there to which like yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think we sat down and were like, shit, this is actually going incredibly shit. Like we never had that feeling. Uh, so yeah,
Okay. And then so as you were saying, like the organization did come to a close. Were you guys then still, and I think you have said it before, like actively trying to make it work? And was that a kind of dream for you that you were like, this team is my friends, we've done so well. I want this to be the team that I succeed with.
yeah, definitely. I think we got the information that they went bankrupt, and I think everyone was just like I think Bird even said like I don't see anyone else I would want to do this with at the moment, and like I might not have any offers now. But I think we should like he wanted to keep on going, because like this is the team he wanted to make it with, right? And I think I'm
Mm,
sitting with the same feeling. Farlig as well, Rals, Team B, and me for that matter. Like we just kept on grinding. Obviously, you can't do it forever, because like if there's no income, you can't. Well, thanks God I live at home, right? I wasn't near as hard as other people, right? But Rals and Bird and Farlig, they all live in different parts of this, like away from their parents, so they couldn't do it forever. And offers came, and obviously people took them, because like they need to live their life as well. But we tried making it work, and we didn't like we if anything we even started working even harder.
okay. Yeah, I guess well, like when your back's against the wall, that's when you start doing your best. In it's like sometimes yes, sometimes no. But then so you came onto Astralis then, and you were saying because not because of it, but like BlameF had a big like good eye for you the whole time ever since you played with him in Heroic. Was that actually an offer you were expecting? Like, was that kind of one of those things where like I feel like you've landed on your feet the best out of everyone out of that roster. obviously like playing in tier 1. Was this something that you anticipated joining a team like Astralis?
No, definitely not. I was thinking some international teams, to be fair. Um, well, to be completely honest with you, I didn't have a single offer before Blame wrote me. And that came as a bit of a shock to me. I was like, no, guess I'll wait for CS2. But no, I didn't think about it. I didn't see it happening because I knew there's been some leaks that Stair was contracted to them, right?
Yeah.
And they had this Altex guy who was playing with them, who was putting up numbers as well. Like he was very good in the academy team, and we played the exact same roles. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see why they should make the change, but obviously they did, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah, and yeah, this whole roster, it looked a little bit strange at start, and it did seem like a whole new, fresh Astralis. But it's proved everyone wrong. If there's ever anyone like, it's doing amazing so far. Obviously, it's very fresh, but it's done well to this date. And just kind of looking at the roles you're replacing. So you replaced Altex at outright, but it was still kind of like you could look at it as like Zip's old roles, and you have said that you fit maybe like those roles better than especially Zip did. Could you explain it to us, and could you like give us like a rundown of what your roles are in this team?
Yeah. So on City side, I play a lot of anchor roles. On certain maps, it's me or boss who swaps around a bit, like from map to map, who plays the anchor roles, right? I haven't done the math, but I think I play maybe 4 of them, and he plays like a few others, right?
Okay, yeah,
And on T side, I play more like support in the beginning of rounds. Like I throw some nades and in the beginning, like on Ancient and on Vertigo, I play mid and I just kind of like rotate around where people needs me. As well on Nuke, I'm like the second guy in lobby who just like, okay, I'm holding hot. Let's do smokes outside. I do some smokes outside, right? But then when it comes to mid round, I think I contribute a lot more than in this style of play that BlameF calls, right? Obviously, I wouldn't know how Sipix actually contributes to this kind of calling that Blame does, but I think I have a bit more. I take my chances when I have them. I'm not scared to just like create space for my teammates, right? And if I can jump around a corner for device to get a better fight against the second guy on T side, like I'll happily do that. Where I think Sipix is a bit more passive, right? Like
yeah.
he wants it to be a bit more um, not so loose, right? He wants it. Yeah, no, I
I
think
get what
passive
you
is.
mean. Yeah,
I think passive is the right word. Like I'm a bit more
yeah.
aggressive when it comes to running in on sides and creating space for teammates. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
than
that
he
makes
is,
sense.
and I think that contributes a lot to uh, the play styles we have.
Okay, and that's very it's very interesting. You kind of touch upon that point of like the example you use, like I will jump across this corner, I'll probably lose my life, but I'm creating space for my team, and I think because of that, you can kind of see maybe like some of the bad stats coming out, and I think you've been getting a lot of unfair criticism because of those bad stats, because especially what you're saying with those roles you play, it's understandable how you set up your team. So kind of how do you see that then? Like, is your whole role in this team to basically like make the team win, but it almost makes yourself look bad in the process?
No, I don't know. I don't think necessarily about it. I don't look that much on HLTV. Uh, well, I look at the games, right, and I look at statistics when I'm like, oh, I want to look at like entries, attempts. I want to look at like flashes. I want to like look
Yeah,
at things I can actually use, right?
yeah,
But I remember I was sitting out the Cologne run outside uh, with Boss and Stare, I think, and I was like, I saw this tweet that Maui Snake made, and like he just made a guess the player kind of thing, and it was just like 8 red maps in a row, right? And I was like, that's probably me. That actually, I didn't know in the beginning because actually, like, I sat with the feeling that I played like a really good event. Actually, like, I think I contributed a lot to the team. I was like, that's weird, but like, obviously, like, it doesn't matter to me what my statistics are. If I feel like I've
okay,
contributed a lot, and I get the praise from my team as well, right? Like, Blame will like heavily praise what I'm doing, like even if I'm like 1 to 10 or something, right?
Yeah.
and so will device. Like they know what I'm capable of and know what I'm doing. Yeah, but it's just hard being consistent in this kind of role, I think.
Yeah, and I think people really don't understand that. And it is actually really good to hear as well that you kind of sit back and you're like, I don't care. Like we're winning. My teammates like me. Like I'm helping my team. That I think that it's really good to see that like you aren't. It's not like oh like I'm so da da da. But looking at Blame and IGL, I think that was a change that definitely I saw and I was like, ooh, that's interesting. That's a big change up. So how is it playing under Blame now as an IGL? And do you feel like you guys will be able to hit the newer heights that they weren't able to hit with Glaive? Because this is almost like a new look, fresh Astralis that the organization needed this new look.
Yeah, I definitely think we can. Yeah, definitely, 100%. I think Blame as an IGL, I think it comes naturally to him. He's a very good leader, in and outside of the game, and he just grinds so hard. Like he's always up to date with the meta. He knows like what everyone is doing. He watches a lot of demos. If someone has a good map on his spot, like he's already watched the game. He's so far ahead of the game, and he keeps up with the meta on the level of play that he does, like on the tier 2 level play, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's come natural to me. He's like a really good leader, and he just grinds the shit out of the game. Like,
Yeah. Because he was a IGL in Epsilon, right? Like a long, long time ago. He was an IGL before.
yeah, he was. I yelled in the heroic as well when I was playing. That was
Yeah. Um, okay, that's so like, did it take a second when you were playing and practicing for him to almost kind of like get to grips? And do you think this team's also in a position where you're only going to improve more and more and more because you've got Buzz and Stare, who are relatively quite new to this level, and then also BlameF, who's like still getting used to IGLing. So do you feel like you're actually going to be hitting higher peaks because of just that physical time?
oh definitely. I think we have there's a lot more good things to come. I think, for example, Boss, like he's one hell of a player. Like he's finally like getting more comfortable in his roles. He's getting a lot of his roles back that he had in Masonic when he was like owning everyone on tier 2.
Mm.
Um, So when he gets like comfortable, like as you saw against Heroic, that's like the comfortable boss. That's the boss we see a lot in practice as well. So when he starts doing that to like more opponents, like all the time, oh my lord, it's gonna be scary.
Oh, that's something I'm definitely looking forward to. And so you kind of mentioned there a little bit like the tier two play that BlameF was doing. Um, is a little part of that just like you've kind of got this new like, a core of tier two players in a sense of like you've got you, Stare, and Buzzer have moved up from that level. Have you just brought like a whole new look of CS to this like older team who have been playing tier one for so long and just basically like rejuvenate it a little bit? And that's a big thing for just catching people off guard.
I'm not sure to be fair. I think that's a hard question. I don't necessarily think that I bring a lot of like tactical to how we play the game, like how we approach the game in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Um, I think Star did, to be fair. He he's very talkative. He takes a lot of initiative on his position, and he has a lot of like position that he had in Sprout as well. And he has certain ways that he want to play it. And I think Blame was very open to like, okay, let's try this your way. Let's make you comfortable. Either it works or it don't, right? And like, yeah, I think he brought a lot, uh, yeah, to the team and like how we approach certain side of the maps.
Oh, that's really cool. And then, so for looking at you, how does it kind of feel to go from playing like all these online tournaments and tier two to now playing against like tier one players? Like the style of gameplay, how is that? How hard was that movie to adjust to? And also playing on stage, like how is it playing on stage to then like going from like where you are now to then being like, okay, I've got to play on a stage in front of 20,000 people.
Um, I, I think like if we talk about the opponents, right? Obviously, they are some of them are very good individually. Um, I do think it's a bit easier to go off anti-strat. It's easier to make a game plan and anti-strat people in the tier 1 level because they don't play as unpredictable as maybe if you meet some Russian mix who just swapped out two new players, which makes sense, right? You're gonna meet a lot more established rosters in at
Yeah.
this level, which makes it easier for you to find small gimmicks that they don't even know, like small tells about their opponents, right?
Yeah.
obviously they're very good individually, all the teams. So there's a level of individual that it's harder up here. Obviously, you don't get away
Okay.
with as many mistakes because the spacing is gonna be better. So just all those small things, the spacing is gonna be better. There's always gonna be a lot of times there's gonna be a flash before anything happens. Yeah.
Hmm. And so something we were talking about a little bit before, and it actually kind of surprised me a little bit. So my thought process was that you guys were going to have loads of pressure heading into Astralis because you're this new organization. You guys, well, no, you're part of this big organization that a lot of people look at and want success. But then you kind of changed that narrative a little bit, and we're like, we actually feel the pressure now a little bit more because we've done well. So do you want to break that down for me and talk about especially how you're going to deal with this pressure and maybe draw it? And does that draw in anything from when you played on Flames and the RMR run when you were talking about pressure? Like, have you learned a little bit about that, and how are you guys going to deal with this leading into the future?
Um. Well, I'm not sure how big the pressure is gonna be. There's gonna be it's, and I don't know if it's gonna be more pressure. It's gonna be different now. I'd say, but I think the entire what do you call the all the people behind Astralis, right? Like we just have
Yeah.
Kasper Straube from Heroic. We have this Jan Ø as our sports coach, right? And we have a lot of people just who's I wouldn't say taking care of it, but helping us with it, right? Like making us think the right thing, making everything not as random. Like let's say we have a good game, like we knew how we approached that game. Like we had certain um, focus points to have a good game, right? So whenever we have a how to say this, nothing is ever random in the sense of how we work with our mental things, right? We get a
Mm.
lot of help from those two people because they have a lot of experience as well, right? Kasper Straub is from Heroic, and Janø is former badminton player of Denmark, right? And
Oh.
he's played on the biggest top five in the world. I'm guessing. I'm not sure, but he's one of the best in the world at his peak. So he knows about the pressure as well, right? Which gives us a lot of things. Yeah, I'd say we're a bit ahead of the game, I guess, in that sense when it comes to that.
Okay. Well, that's really interesting, and I think this Astralis team is gonna be really interesting. And it's such a fascinating team with kind of it's all around. It's just it's fun to watch, and I think it's gonna have well deserved hype. And just kind of two last questions. Looking ahead, CS2, big hot on everyone's mind right now. As a tier one player and as someone who is now kind of on the front of everything, is it a little bit scary seeing this whole new game that might shift everything up, or are you actually quite looking forward to potentially see this massive change that's going to change everything?
Um, I think it's going to be good. I think it seems like Valve is working a lot with the game, so I think mistakes is going to be fixed a lot quicker than it might have been in the beginning of the game. And I don't know. I think it's just good to get some fresh new things. I love, for example, when they get new maps into the map pool.
Yeah.
It just gives a lot of chances for upcoming teams to yeah be ahead of the game if they just grind the shit out of it, right?
Hmm.
So I'm personally looking forward to it. Maybe the timing is gonna be bad, who knows? But it's gonna be the same for everyone, right? And I think personally it's gonna be very good for us as well because we, as well as we did in Flames, we just put a lot more hours into the game that a lot of other teams don't. I think.
Okay. And just as Astralis, are you actually preparing at all for CS2, or are you literally just we've got Go now and we've got CS2 when it comes out?
No, we're not preparing. We can't really. I think it's
Yeah.
hard to because we need to be ready for all the upcoming ESL Pro League, Pinnacle
Yeah.
Pro League playoffs potentially.
Mm.
So
But yeah, Pro League right around the corner, and hopefully we'll be able to see you guys perform like you did in Cologne. b0RUP, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking this time. I can't wait to see what your team can do, and I feel like this is only a start to something quite amazing. And with that said, thank you very much everyone for watching, and make sure to tune in next week for another interview on the INSITE channel.